What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of the GZ Chop Shop podcast. I'm your host, Projektitachi, joined by my good friend and co-host, Worthiness. And first, before we dive into this week's episode, I know you guys are probably wondering, you're like, hey guys, the episodes haven't been coming out weekly over the summer. That's because we've been taking some breaks during the summer. We know you guys are on your vacations. You guys are pretty much in wind down. And so were we. We were taking a couple of breaks here and there. So if the episodes haven't been rolling out every week, that's why we're trying to get our little vacations in as well. But we can't just let all the good news slide by without talking to you guys. So this week, I know, Warners, one of these is probably going to bother you. The other one is just going to be something I think we both agree on, just being complete and utter madness. So we're going to start with the madness first. Mortal Kombat 1 has announced their DLC. Big surprise. For those who haven't looked yet at it, it is going to cost you a whopping $49.99 for the base DLC, which is the continuation of the story called Chaos Reigns. And it's going to cost you $59.99 if you want the story expanded DLC with the Combat Pack 2, which is coming with female Cyrax and Sector, Conan the Barbarian, the T-1000, and Ghostface. Yeah, from that franchise as the Combat 2 pack. So I'm not quite sure what Warner Brothers or NetherRealm, whoever was in charge of the pricing on this thing, was thinking by charging a full game price for the DLC, which I think, and we were talking about this in Discord, and Byrne actually said this too, and I agree, it really screws over everyone who bought the collector's edition of Mortal Kombat, which was $109, which, by the way, you can get a discounted price right now. It's on sale. If you already have the base game and you want to upgrade, which there's actually no reason because the DLC is not going to be included in that. Everyone who spent $100 on it, and if they want to keep having the optimal experience, now Mortal Kombat is running you up to $160 total for the full game. That's insane.
That's gross.
Like, I can't. We were talking about game prices in the Discord, and we're pretty much, for the most part, in agreement, but at the same time, a little bit split, where some of us are kind of like, well, the game prices haven't changed all that much, which when you look at some of the historical prints of Sega and Nintendo, that for the most part is true. Their games were still $69, $59 back in the day, and they're still, well, Sega's out, but Nintendo's still pretty consistent. We always talk about, man, Nintendo's so expensive. Nintendo just doesn't like to do sales, but they're also the only one who's been consistent in their price, almost like they already knew the future before it hit, and then they just stuck there. But I also had said, we don't see the games as being more expensive because the marketing and these companies behind the developers, the big ones, the old boomers who are trying to make so much money off of gaming, they treat it like taxes. Instead of, calling it a fee, how the system is like, well, we'll call it a tax and then we can charge people whatever we want. That's how they're treating games now. Well, instead of giving them the full game, we'll break it up in parts. And then we'll charge you the price you're used to for the skeleton of the game. And then over the months and years, we'll charge you $30, $10, another $30. And before you realize it, you're thinking, hey, man, this was a full game, but now you've spent upwards to $220 for that one game, where back in the day, yes, it was $60, $70, but that was it. You spent $60, $70, you had your full game. There was no DLC expansions and whatever. And it really comes down to the debate, I guess, of, are these expansions worth it? Are you really getting more bang for your buck? Or are we just getting a longer, drawn out version of what we were already getting back in the early 2000s and 90s and earlier?
What's the story? Like, did they say what the story was that they'll be releasing for the DLC? Like, what are they actually expanding on?
Yes. So the MK1 story is continuing from where MK1 ended. It did end on a cliffhanger where basically, and get this, the multiverse, because everyone's still on the multiverse train, pretty much had their big bout. It was a huge collision, and it's going to pick up where Havoc pretty much left it hanging, where, Big Bad Havoc has entered into our timeline, the new timeline created by Liu Kang, and he's trying to create anarchy across all the known universes in the MK universe. So it's going to pick up where that left off, and it comes out September 24th. So that's right around the corner, which I wish they had said something sooner. Maybe they did, but I didn't see it come across the radar. I'm like, man, you're telling people like right now, by the way, the DLC is coming next month and it's going to be $50. So it's kind of like, I feel like it's pressuring people into buying it without thinking about it. It's like, oh crap, it's going to come out. I got to buy it. So, a lot of people are probably instinctively hit buy, and then, $50. I'm like, but that's a whole game. That literally is a whole game. So I'm wondering like how big this DLC is.
$20 more than Shadow of the Erdtree, and like that felt like an expansion. It felt like a proper expansion, not a just DLC. So to sell it for $20 more than that is crazy to me, because there's no way there's going to be more content.
No, I feel, and I've been saying this for a while, I feel that because fighting games have been on a big rise, on a big incline lately, after years of pretty much going under the radar. Like the only thing that was keeping fighting games going was the FGC, their Evo. But for the most part, most gamers weren't taking fighting games seriously. It was all about battle royals and shooters. Well, now everyone's has been suffering from battle royal exhaustion. Everyone's a little annoyed and sick and tired of Activision and everything Activision's doing. Apex has been letting their fans down. So everyone is starting to gravitate to other PvP-esque games. That pretty much is fighting. That's pretty much what PvP, the pinnacle of PvP was. That was how PvP really began. And now it's gotten its rise back. And then, unfortunately, like I said, the companies behind these developers are seeing that, and now they're jumping on a chance to milk it. Because you notice wherever the gamers go, the gaming dynamic of that industry changes. Like fighting games have always had DLC characters. That's nothing new. Like they started that in the mid 2000s, but that wasn't as bad. They weren't really charging a ridiculous amount for it. Like you could get DLC characters for like $2 before. And then
you could individually just get characters and just add them to your game.
Yeah. For like a couple of bucks.
$60 for what 3 or 4 characters?
Yeah. So now they're like, oh, well, we'll up it. And I mean, look at Tekken 8, like Bandai, I love you, but $8 for a character?
This is another reason too why I never buy the deluxe editions or any special editions of games. I'm not spending $100+ I think it's insane that anybody does, honestly, to spend that much on one game. Like, because it's like what they tend to do across the board is what you said earlier, is you don't really get anything out of it. Maybe you get like a skin, or you get a couple like headers or something, and shaders and stuff added, but really you don't get anything for spending an extra $40, $50, $60 on the same game that they sold at base for $60. So I don't understand why people even fall for that, because they always do this, and then they turn around and they'll release a DLC, and they won't even, at the very least, release it at a more like a discounted price if you already had the $100 or $120 version of the game to begin with. Like, I feel like you should at least get a discount for spending that much.
And they used to do that. Like if you spent $100, whether physical or digital, on the game, it included coverage for like everything. Like at least 2 years of, DLC was covered. Or if it was a fighting game and you went all the way up, they were like, you had a character pass, for like 2 years, and every character that rolled out, you were good. You didn't have to do anything extra. But Mortal Kombat, I was like, oh, I think they covered year one in the $100 version. And then I don't trust any game now that says year one, because that tells me right there, oh, you're going to milk this.
Right.
And I was, and I said this as well. I was like, one of the reasons it's hard for me to really enjoy fighting games now is every new installment, all of them do it. Street Fighter, Tekken, even the anime S5, they all do this. They will charge you for characters you already had in the previous game that you paid for before. Or they'll find out who the favorites are, paywall them in the next version of the game. And it's so funny because we all get excited over it. Like Street Fighter. How many Street Fighters has Akuma been paywalled? When you used to just have to play the game and maybe beat it in like on hard or in an uncanny way to just unlock him because he was already in the game. He was just a secret character unlock. Like, what happened to secret character unlocks? Like, that was the whole thing. Like, oh man, I got to unlock this character, and I get it. Not everybody is skilled enough. Some people, they might be like, well, and I think that's what started. A lot of gamers probably were upset that they couldn't get a character because they didn't have the skills or the patience to get that character, but they wanted to use that character. So they created the conundrum of, why can't I just buy this character? And then, the industry was like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Here's an opportunity. Why earn it when you can just pay us for it? And that led us probably where we are right now, which kind of sucks because granted, the FGC can be super extreme. Like, it's not the most welcoming community, but for the most part, most of those people, they took the time to learn the game, hone the skills, frame data, move cancels, all of that stuff, combos, ridiculous amounts of dedication, so they could get that character just to have someone else come along and just buy that character. And now that's the trend where it's like, you can't unlock those characters just from gameplay. You have to pay for them. So if your favorite character is not on the main roster when the game comes out, you already know what that means. They're paywall. They're 100% paywalled. You're going to have to pay to get your favorite character. And if you don't want to do the whole year one pass, then you got to spend even more to buy individually. And then, yeah, you could be like, well, I'll just buy the character I want, but that still defeats the purpose. Like, why should I have to spend $8 at all? What did I buy the game for? Like,
dude, fighting games are this close to becoming like sports games. And it's the big reason why I don't play sports games is because I think it's incredibly disgusting that it's the same fucking game every single year, and then they make you pay to have all those extra players back that they might offer from the previous year, and then new players they'll make you pay for. They do the same thing to sports games now, but besides the exception of the fighting game, or besides the fighting game, they're just sitting there like, oh, okay, well, we'll milk this for a whole 6 months, and then at month 8 or 9, we'll drop another DLC, and then at year 1, we'll have just a whole new version of the game. And that's what fighting games are doing now. Like, they're just putting out characters and selling it to you, and then within a year or two, coming out with another fighting game, or the same fighting game, like a sequel to that one. And they're like, okay, well, you can buy all these again, all the characters you just paid for, and it's really annoying, dude.
I think they found a way to relive the arcade day highs because they miss people spending $20 at the arcade with the fighting games, whether you were holding your throne or you were taking on challengers. They needed a way to make that money back, and home fighting games didn't make them that money because you didn't need to pay anyone. No one needed to go to arcade. You didn't have to pay anyone. So they had to find a way to still make that money they missed out on because arcades faded away.
They'll sell you the same exact game every year and make you repay for over half the game.
Yeah. Now you're spending more than you probably would have spent at the arcade.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, we are now programmed to think of it like, oh, it's not that bad. It was $20 once. I would have spent 3 times that amount at the arcade. No, you probably wouldn't have. Most of you probably wouldn't have broken $10 at the arcade. Granted, the economy and times were different, but on average, you might have spent like $5 for an entire day of entertainment at the arcade because it was rotating, was cycling. Now you're spending that amount for one character. So you're giving them the amount you would have spent at the arcade and then some. So what I do now, I wait until the game is past its prime, usually like 2 years, and all that stuff goes on sale. Immediately goes on sale because they know no one's buying the season passes. The seasons are done. So they put it all on a sale for like $10, and then you can get everything for like $10.
I'd be so mad if I found out like I spent $100 on a special version of a game all just for it to go on sale like a month or two later for half the price.
Mm-hmm. Not in the fighting game, but the Final Shape is already on sale.
Final Shape.
Final Shape for Destiny 2.
Oh, right.
$50 at launch. Everyone who paid the $50 upfront, pre-ordered, blah, 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 it's on sale right now for like, I think like $30. They've already put it on sale.
You know what's crazy is it being on sale for $30. I remember Destiny 1, all the DLCs were $15.
Yep. I remember that too. Like when the DLCs were announced and coming out, it wasn't that big of a deal. Nope. And you were like, all right, cool, you know.
DLCs doubled in price and then they doubled in price again.
Yeah. And then they put it on sale a few months later. Because I think the Final Shape launched. When did Shadow of the Archer came out? They were around the same time.
Yeah, like March, I think. March or April or something. Or no, June.
June. I think it was June 21st. The Final Shape launched like early June. We're just now getting out of July and it's already on sale. So either people didn't buy the Final Shape or they got the money they wanted up front and they're trying to bring more people in. So then they put it on sale. But I'm like, not even 3 months and it's already on sale. That is a huge slap in the face to everyone who paid the full price. Huge slap. That's why that's why I'm like iffy on passes and season passes. Sometimes if it's like a new game, like Burn got me into, the Final Descendant. And I was like, okay, I don't mind grindy games, because they're good time killers. And I was like, you know what? I don't do battle passes a lot. So I was like, hey, I'll toss $10 at this because I'll probably never toss $10 at it again. And I got that battle pass because I don't remember the last time I actually bought a battle pass for anything. But that's also why I've drifted away from, shooters and stuff. I'm like, one, I don't have that competitive edge that I used to have anymore. And two, they've implemented the FOMO effect in all of the shooters, especially Fortnite. Fortnite is the flagship carrier of get this while it's here because it'll never come back again with their skins and costumes. And everyone's like, oh man, I gotta look like Spider-Man. I gotta look like Iron Man. Deadpool and Wolverine just came out. I have to look like them in the game. And all it tells me is a lot of you just really spent that money just to look that. I still got the base Fortnite chick skin from when I actually used to play Fortnite and it was fun.
Did they really add the Wolverine and Deadpool skins to Fortnite? Oh wow, that's wild.
Yeah. Any new movie that's going to be trending, Fortnite has a skin already set for it.
It's wild to me that like Fortnite, obviously it's mostly kids that play it. It's mostly kids that play it, but they're promoting characters from a popular movie, a popular trendy movie out right now that's rated R and definitely not for kids at all. Like that's just, they keep doing that. They subtly kind of promote like super not appropriate shit to kids. I don't understand it. And everyone's just acting like it's not, like it's just completely cool.
Yeah, looking at you, Olympics. But we won't talk about that. Anyway.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, yeah. Well, Fortnite is trying to be a game for everyone. And somehow it's surviving because for the most part, I a lot of people don't have time to play games that require an investment in time. And I get it because, and you can attest to this as well. When I was in the military, I did spend more time playing usually the shooters, the co-op games, because it was easy to just come in from work, sit down. I wanted to game, but I knew I couldn't get in my RPGs because RPGs demanded hours of time. You're not getting a lot done in an hour on an RPG. But I could get like 4 or 5 games in on Call of Duty when I came in from work, get my gaming high, and then call it a day. And, and because of our society, it's like eat, work, sleep, repeat. So the reason a lot of these games are thriving and surviving is because most people don't have that allotted time to play other games that don't milk their wallet, especially most guys, they come in, they got family to take care of, then they might get like an hour. That's if they're, wife, or if it's the girl, the husband getting all worked out because they're playing the game for longer than 20 minutes. So then they get maybe like an hour or two, 4, and I'm being generous when I say 4 a week to play the game. So they're, these companies are taking advantage of that by constantly throwing these, new maps. Oh, these, that's why these games are thriving so doggone much. They're milking the people that can only jump in and play for like a good 20, 30 minutes to an hour. Because since I have more time to be able to play games, I realized I didn't need all that extra stuff. Because then I started realizing, I'm like, I have a library. No joke. I have a library of like 700 video games, counting all of my video games. And I'm like, okay, if they're throwing all this stuff at this game saying, get this new map, I can just go to one of my other 699 video games and fill the time. By the time I think about coming back to this game, all that stuff will be on sale. And I've been killing it with sales lately. I've been getting stuff that was like hundreds of dollars when it came out, like all the DLCs, and they knock them down as far as like $10. And I'm like, yeah, I'll just wait. Yeah, sure, the game will be old, but it won't be dead. Especially for RPGs, that's a single player experience. I can play that at any time. So I just add it to my library, and it's only been $10 as compared to getting it immediately day one for $30-$40. So I'm probably going to wind up doing that with MK1. They'll probably put it on sale before Christmas. But $50, that's ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, I like MK. I do. I love Mortal Kombat. I like MK1, but I cannot justify spending $60. I can't justify spending $60 on a DLC. It's like they saw Activision do it, and I knew this was going to happen. We said it. Everyone complained, but no one actually did anything about it. Everyone was fussing while they were checking out. That was the problem. They were complaining at the point of already paying the money. They were like, darn, this is some bull. How dare they do this? And then the cashier goes, debit or credit. And they're like, oh, debit. And then they walk away with their overpaid DLC and then did nothing else. Like we knew what it was. The articles were coming out about it and people still paid for it. So now you got Warner Brothers. They're like, well, shoot, Activision got away with it. Why can't we? And they will. They 100% will. People will fuss as they're checking out.
I'm hard pressed to purchase DLCs. Like I have to actually feel like the game is going to be expanded on for me to spend $40, $50, $60 on a DLC. Otherwise, I just won't. I just won't get it.
And speaking of games that actually expand with DLCs, our personal favorite, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree. That was a DLC that was 100% worth it. 100%. DLC that keeps on giving. But unfortunately, I have some bad news for you, sir. Some really heartbreaking, terribly bad news for you. You should have did the Radahn fight when you had the chance. Because they just dropped the nerf. and it's on your favorite spell.
Oh, they just nerfed thorns,
Yes,
thorn and bleed.
they nerfed it.
They
As of
didn't
this
nerf that
patch that
shit
came
for
out,
like 2 years, and now in the DLC they're nerfing it. Whatever.
of all the
I
things,
guarantee you it was just invaders complaining on.
I think that's what it is too.
That's what it was.
Yeah. Well, that and content creators. I won't put this all on invaders because they were using it as well. And I think the crowd of people who got killed by it wasn't as loud. I think this may lean more to content creators because what's one thing you can always see when you type in Elden Ring? OP build, game breaking build, god tier build. This bleed ends it all. And after a while, we wind up in the situation that put us in Shadow of the Erdtree. First of all, this game is easy. This game will be easy. And then everyone imitates that. And then people who were struggling will start acting like they were god tier and be like, yeah, this game's easy. Yeah, it was easy. And Bandai hears that and they're like, oh, really? So what's everyone using? What's the meta right now? And it was Impenetrable Thorns. So they were like, okay, so everyone's saying the game's good. The game's easy now. Beating Verdun, he's not that hard. So what happens when we take that away? Now we'll see. Now we'll see. And even when I was reading the articles, a lot of people writing the articles were not a fan of the Impenetrable Thorns. I don't know if they were invaders or I don't know if they were purists, because with the Elden Ring, with the Souls community in general, it's a mixed bag. You got like 3-4 different angles it could be coming from. You've got the casuals who are just playing it because they love it. Then you've got the purists who are like, I've been here since the dawn of man. There's only one way to play a Souls game. Then you've got the invader mains who pretty much, I want my stuff to be broken, but don't you dare gang up on me and have broken stuff. And then you've got the in-betweens where they're just kind of like, I just kind of like to try a little bit of everything. I do a little invading. I play by myself. I just want to enjoy the game. Whatever everyone else does, that's them. Have at it. It's your game. So it's hard to tell what may have affected Impenetrable Thorns. But in this case, I think it's probably like content creators mainly making busted builds. And being an Impenetrable Thorns didn't need that much added to it to make it broken. I think that's where Bandai took an issue, because there's people who've done crazy damage, like one-shotting, two-shotting Radon, but how they're doing it is a process. They're applying buffs in a specific order to not overwrite each other. That's the
thing that I don't like about a lot of patches in RPG games is the abilities themselves separately aren't busted. It's like you said, people are utilizing a ton of multiple things in the game, finding out what that equation is, and then doing it, which is the point of games like that. You're supposed to find out like stuff that stacks and stuff. So I feel like it's kind of a slap in the face to nerf that kind of stuff.
Now they did nerf one of my favorite.
Spell is busted and one spell by itself is doing something crazy, or one weapon, like, yeah, sure. But if you're having to do a chain of events to like get it to proc a certain way,
yeah. Well, I mean, Impenetrable Thorns by itself was doing a lot of damage, but you weren't going to hear me complain. I was never going to complain. And most people that tried to use it against us, we kind of saw it coming. So we were like, all right, you're going to be spammy with it. We have a response to that. But however, the spell that confused me, I can't say it's confusing, but they also nerfed Miriam's vanishing. I don't know if that was, so the invincibility window of teleporting, I guess, was too big for PvP. So I don't know if it was a Coliseum issue or a host invader to host, but I'm guessing Miriam's vanishing was becoming a menace because it specifically got nerfed for PvP. The PvP portion, the invincibility window, is not as long for the person using vanishing. So I'm guessing people that were coming in with quick attacks weren't landing them when someone would vanish, and then they couldn't respond And we all know usually meleeers, they hate spellcasters. They call us our filthy spell chuckers. So they probably complain when they try to, Rambo a spellcaster only to get Miriam vanished. And then you're sitting there with your back exposed and you take a common Azor to the back. I guess that would make you kind of salty. But yeah, that one threw me off. I was like, Miriam's vanishing's getting nerfed for PvP, but I'm thinking maybe it was more Coliseum related. I don't see that being as big of a issue in invasions because it's the whole world. There's the whole world happening around you. So that had to have been a Coliseum issue.
I've used it in PvP before, and it was okay. There were a couple of times it was helpful, but for the most part, like, it's not like it was difficult to catch me out of it or anything.
Yeah, I think that was a Coliseum issue because there's nothing to distract. So the person could just teleport right through you and it could throw off your whole, wombo combo if you had something set up. So yeah, that was one of the things that they nerfed, but they didn't just nerf, they buffed. Summons are supposed to have extra health and do more damage now and not be as stupid. So they say, we will see, but the summons are supposed to be more helpful because I will say
they really
the
did
DLC,
have the summons in the DLC. Just their IQ just dropped. I never seen summons just stand there and watch. I'm like,
the summons were terrible.
When did we swap roles, Mimic?
Yeah, and some people were saying that they would they have their Mimic and the Mimic was still doing work, and I'm like, can I have your Mimic then? Because mine acts clueless sometimes in the DLC. We get back to the base game, they're fine.
Yeah, exactly. I've literally had mine just stand there and then just get the crap beat out of it, and I'm just watching. I'm like, fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, basically, it's like, fine, I'll do it myself. So that was some of the things. I didn't go over the entire patch notes, but you guys can look them up for yourself. Just visit the Bandai Namco site. There's specific move patches: Palm Blast, Blind Spot, Raging Beast, Savage Lion's Claw. They had some tweaks. Knight's Lightning Spear. They did some tweaks on that, and then they had, of course, your general balance and adjustments. They changed a healthy portion of, well, not a healthy portion, I'll say small portion of the weapons, one of them being Euphoria, which is a pain in the butt to get in the first place. So it looks like they buffed it. Actually, it's all been buffed. This is actually really good for you and I because we both got Euphoria, but they increased the holy damage when the weapon has its luster, decreased how many attacks is required to restore the luster, and they increased the duration of the luster, which I think is fair because that's an end game weapon. And even at the end game, you can totally miss getting it. And then there's still no guarantee that you get it, even if you know where it is, because there's a lot of platforming and a tough enemy involved. So I think that was a good call to make that weapon more viable. But yeah, some of the talismans got tweaked and a bunch of Ashes of Wars got tweaked and some spells. So yeah, just visit the Bandai site if you guys want the full breakdown on the Elden Ring patches and all that. But I want to have our final thought here because you and I have both been playing it. How you feeling about No Man's Sky?
I'm enjoying. It's been years, and I mean years since I've touched it. But we played Star Citizen for a while, and Star Citizen we liked how the technicalities of it. And some I want to use the word realism, but just more, I guess, immersiveness with space flight in a game, and the way the economy runs and how the game works. It's pretty cool. My only issue with Star Citizen was when they just work really hard to get money and ships, and then they reset it. They wipe the world, and unless you purchase a ship outright, I don't like that. I wish Star Citizen would turn away from that a little bit, but it's been years. They're probably not going to do that. No Man's Sky, on the other hand, I feel like I get more or less the same treatment as I did. Like, it feels similar. to Star Citizen. Only if I earn ships and fleets and stuff, I'm not going to lose them. And I can't just go buy a ship outright, which I like to. I just don't like in-game purchases. Not a fan of that. It's easy to see why Starfield was such a fucking disaster because flying in space in that game, because I played the demo and it was ass. And flying in space in that game's it's not the same experience at all as No Man's Sky. I can't believe No Man's Sky existed and Microsoft actually thought Starfield was somehow better than that. And however, I will say this, No Man's Sky was ass when it came out, which is why I stopped playing it to begin with. I was not really into it. I was like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I think we all felt the same way. But for no extra cost, really, they turned it around, and now it's a really phenomenal game. As a matter of fact, I think I'd share with you recently that the player base was up by like 500% in the past few weeks, which I don't know why. Like, this is really random. Like, it's not like...
I think it hit like 4 million.
Yeah, like that. I just thought it was a really random thing to suddenly peak. Like, because the game's like been out for like 10 years almost. Like 8 years or something. But yeah, it's, as far as like space flight simulator adventure RPG games go, like, it's definitely the best one right now. And there's no, I mean, for all we know, Starfield might pull No Man's Sky down the road and do the same thing and change stuff, but it's also Microsoft, so probably not.
They do have a DLC coming out. I don't remember the name of it, so we'll see. This will be their first hurdle.
No Man's Sky, because again, it had been so long since I played. They didn't do DLCs, did they? They just did updates.
Yeah, it was just updates. It was just
and they would
major
add a
updates.
ton of stuff to the game.
Yeah,
with no extra cost. That's crazy.
Yeah, they just called them updates. They were all like, right now we're in Worlds Part 1. That's the current update, which means we know there's going to be a Part 2. And they used assets from their upcoming game, Light No Fire, and brought them to No Man's Sky. So, and every time I think I know everything about the game, I learn that there's other things you can do. And I'm like, okay, this is a space game. This is a space game. Now, just let me take my Star Citizenship and bring it to No Man's Sky, because I really like my ship, and then I'll never have to touch Star Citizen again.
Yeah, it'd be cool to be able to put certain features and aspects of Star Citizen and No Man's Sky together. Like being able to go to like planets and mine with miners and stuff. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's
being able to haul cargo and stuff. I think that's pretty cool.
Because we had a whole trade route we were doing, and we were mining, and then it was like the tension of getting that Quantanium to the space station. That was, Star Citizen has, I think I would love for them to just do a crossover, but I know Robert Space Industries loves money too much. So that'll never happen. Like, do like a ship crossover, or something. That would be super cool. But yeah. Anyway, that's all we got for you guys for this episode. Are you getting the Mortal Kombat DLC? Yes, no. What do you think about DLCs? You guys have heard us harp about it so many times, but we love to hear your thoughts. So hit us up on our social medias, hit us up on our website, cheesychopshopodcast.com. And have you finished Shadow of the Erd Tree? Did you use Impenetrable Thorns? How do you feel about the buffs and nerfs? All that. We love to hear from you guys. Anyway, we're out of here. Take care of yourself and each other, and we'll catch all of you wonderful people on the next podcast. Later.